Yesterday we talked about burnout.
We sure did.
Right? And how important it is that we keep ourselves from running on empty. We don't want to run on empty. We do that part ways by setting boundaries.
Yes.
With friends, family, roommates, colleagues, all the rest.
Anybody you need to set a boundary
That's right,
with.
that's right.
So our next guest is here to show us how we can create a healthy boundary and make sure that we are prioritizing our mental health above all else, because we don't have that. We got nothing.
Nada.
Okay? So joining us live this morning is Olivia Verhulst. She's a licensed psychotherapist, mental health counselor, and adjunct professor at NYU. Welcome back.
Hi.
It's so good to have you.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, guys.
Always grateful to see you. So first and foremost, I think when folks hear boundaries, they immediately think, oh my God, you're pushing me away.
Yes.
Explain what a boundary is exactly as it pertains to your own mental health.
So boundaries are fundamentally about the personal limits that we're setting for ourselves. And to your point, there is this misconception that our boundaries are about other people, what we're doing to them, we're pushing them away, or worse, we're trying to control their behaviors, which we are not. In reality, our boundaries are about us, our needs, our expectations of how we're going to show up in relationships and our limits. And ironically, boundaries are the things out here keeping us close to others and helping our relationships to thrive.
Right.
Instead of trying to murder someone.
Yeah.
True.
But it's not you, it's me.
Right.
Is what we have to say. But it could be a struggle. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
hard conversation to execute.
Yeah.
So why do you think so many of us struggle with the setting of the boundaries in general?
Yeah, well, boundaries can be uncomfortable. On the one hand, we are in this culture of immediacy where we feel like there's a perception that we owe people our immediate availability, which we do not.
Right.
And then underlying struggles for boundaries really run the gamut, ranging from in childhood, you may not have been modeled healthy boundaries. It may not have been something that you were allowed to have safely, as well as it could be something that in general you are the yes man in your relationships. That's where you derive great significance, or that's where you've learned that that's how I can maintain relationships, where there could be codependency themes, so it varies.
That's a good one.
You know, I'm thinking about this, and even the term boundary, just in mental health speak, it can be interpreted so many different ways, because as you're speaking, I'm thinking in my own life, people weaponized a boundary. They ghosted me, right? So, which was awful, because I thought it was about me. It was about the other person. So, what are some clues that we need to set boundaries in our relationships, be they intimate, familial, collegial?
This is a great question I think a lot of people can benefit from. And I typically say that where there are patterns of resentment, chaos, overwhelm, and or exhaustion, that is a clue to take a pause, reevaluate, look inward. Where are my boundaries lately in my relationships?
We just took a big deep breath.
I'm gonna have no friends at the end of today. How do you actually go about setting this boundary with someone? Like, you know, you see the clues, you see the signs, you realize, okay, I have to do something here. So what advice do you have for us on that front?
I'm going to give a few tangible tips, and at the end of the day, sometimes boundary struggles, you really want to have some introspection and inner work going on within a counseling setting. So you can find me and my team of peers at Let's Talk Psychological Wellness in New York City, for example. But some suggestions for boundary setting is, number one, being direct by being clear, calm, and respectful, because boundaries can be kind. Like, there is a difference between being assertive and aggressive. And then also, number two, using I statements. That can look like, for example, when I experience you using guilt-tripping behaviors, mom or grandma, in that moment, it makes me feel bad, so I will be removing myself from that situation. Or, thank you, friend, for being so supportive. I am not benefiting from advice being given right now, so I'm asking people to support me in different ways. Okay. And then lastly, you also want to practice pausing before saying yes, particularly if you're that people pleaser. There is a quote by Viktor Frankl that I like that is, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our ability to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So break up these automatic behaviors by just pausing, buy yourself some time.
My therapist says, don't do something, just stand there. Just stand there in the still.
Yeah, that's a
Tempest
wonderful
in a
tip.
teapot.
Shout out to your therapist.
Arthur Greenberg, know him and love him. Something that we talked about was, can you set a boundary and not let the other person know. And I guess that goes back to
Yeah.
changing, you know, the whole paradigm shift of the boundary not being a negative thing.
Yes, and. So the
Okay.
short answer is yes. At the end of the day, you're going to be gypping yourself and others if you're not being clear and stating your boundaries, because people are not mind readers. We cannot
Right,
expect
yeah,
them
right,
to
right,
be. And for the people who are really non-receptive to boundaries, all the time we're operating off our own set of rules and limits that we place on ourselves. That may not always be verbalized, sometimes it can't safely be, and you're acting subtly on your boundaries. But generally, if you can state it, I would.
Right.
Now, kind of the converse of that is, of people not being mind readers, you could lay out what you think to be a clear boundary with someone, but if they're consistently crossing over said boundary, because okay, maybe you're having this conversation with them, but you're not always on their mind.
Yeah.
They've got their own lives as well, perhaps. So, what do we do in that situation if they continuously just blow through it?
Yeah, we've all got a few of those. I think you really want to be keen on reiterating your boundaries. Also, people do say that no is a full sentence, but when it comes to, like, say, my loving husband, who, if he accidentally is repeating crossing boundaries, I might want to let him in on the context of my boundaries. And you don't necessarily have to explain your boundaries to people, but in the right circumstance, it can help. And then the most pivotal thing with the boundary crossers is holding the consequences. So like I said before, like, if the consequence, and it's not a threat, but if the consequence is I will be removing myself from the situation, you got to enforce that. Enforcing boundaries is important.
Chock full of information. That's why we invite you back.
Everybody
Okay.
learned something
The
here
seat is
today.
always there waiting for. We're going to put her name
I'm
on
glad to
top.
be here.
She'll be our in-house therapist. Dr. Olivia Verhulst, thank you again, as always, for